What do movers get wrong about your job? Bartenders don't spend their entire shift wiping the bar or polishing glasses. Being a lawyer is 3 months of paperwork and research, and 1 day of trial, and we don't yell at or intimidate witnesses. If I did what you see in movies, I'd be disbarred pretty quickly. Computer programmer, you can't hack with HTML. Airline pilot, I don't do cocaine, nor am I an alcoholic. And neither are 99.9% of the other airline pilots. I love carrot sniffing though. We aren't all in the military/ex-military. Also, we, pilots in general, aren't some elite breed of people who are super smart or had super good grades. I was a crap student in high school and college. The guy that is flying your plane is probably just that dorky kid in high school that really liked planes. No surgery scene in a movie follows sterile technique. Anything that has someone crawling through an air duct, you'll be covered in sticky sealant and punctured to death with screws within 20 minutes of attempting to go through one. Pizza delivery driver. A lot less invitations for sex by sexy ladies or dudes. Though I did delivery to a 30 company one time. To their office. They didn't even tip. In sci-fi movies, when they rig up a massive, complex experiment and it works the first time. Whenever I see someone welding in a movie, I always notice how they aren't wearing anything to cover the skin on their arms or body. That's how you get serious arc burn that's like a super bad sunburn. Hurts like hell. Authors don't sit in cabins by lakes to write their novels. Whenever people play poker in movies, they will often say something like, I see your $200 and raise you $1. That's an illegal string raise and would be treated as only a call of the $200. This is to prevent angle shooting, whereby a player does something that initially indicates a call, then looks for a reaction, then decides to raise or not based on the reaction. If you want to raise a bet, you either have to announce raise first or put the appropriate amount of chips into the pot in one motion. Lab research. You can't do that stuff so fast. You can't make a cure for a virus within a week. Also, enhance. Aha, we can now read his DNA molecules right from the security cam footage. Mathematicians actually often suck at arithmetic/working with numbers. You are definitely not, ever, going to roam around the building through the ductwork. Any movie or show that portrays the field of medical examiner or forensics professional working in a luxurious, high-tech office surrounded by beautiful people. Source, work in a super crappy building that always smells like crap in a crappy part of town. Paramedic. It's not constantly stabbings, gunshots, etc. It's 95% of the time not very exciting, although this is just in my experience in a town that isn't rampant with much violence. Bar musician. We are not all depressed and hoping some big talent scout from a label shows up. Some us enjoy playing in bars. Fun fact. Archivists do not wear white gloves all the time like the movies show. Especially not when handling paper documents, since they can do more harm than good. I'm looking at you. National treasure. In movies, every security guard is lazy AF and typically sleeping, or a one-ape cop. That's actually pretty accurate. The first group far outnumbers the second in my experience though. EMTs never run into the emergency room. When we do visit the ER, we usually slowly walk in with a 450-pound dialysis patient or intoxicated college student on the stretcher. Any movie with a delivery driver, most of us aren't maniacs and are trying to get you your food as fast as freaking possible so we can suck every penny out of your tips. That's how you get someone to call your manager and go, yeah, I just got cut off by one of your drivers going 80 in a 35. We are just trying to get your food to you before the scheduled time. And it probably doesn't matter if we are late because you suckers put the tips on the receipt before the food is even made. Affairs aren't as prevalent among doctors as TV would have you believe. Also during residency, no one is having sex in the call room. Everyone is too tired for that. When someone needs CPR, we are usually going at it for a while, inserting central fourth lines, running multiple tests at the bedside, switching off and on who is doing compressions, etc. We also never shock when someone is flatlining only for two types of rhythms. We don't give up after 30 seconds. I'm looking at you. This is us. I can't hack into the database faster by typing random crap. Teacher. The stress of teaching doesn't tend to come so much from behavior management or difficult classes, but more the pressure, expectations and workload. The army. I'm a janitor. When someone flatlines, asystole, you can't use a defibrillator, won't work because there are no contractions present. Not me, but a former boyfriend. Sprinklers don't work that way. Not all of the sprinklers go off at once. The heat has to be strong enough to break the little glass bulb inside, making the water come out. So when you see someone holding a lighter to a sprinkler and the move is and they all go off, that's bullcrap. Also, it's not pretty. Clear water. It's water that's been sitting in pipes for ages. He'd come home with his overalls, stained in black from the water that would come out of these pipes. It would smell and everything. Lastly, just a misconception. Fire sprinklers aren't there to completely put out a fire. They are a fire suppression system. Ha. I appreciate all of your response. I think it's interesting to see people who are into it as much as he was. But I should clarify. This would be watching movies, where the person is in an office, and they set off a sprinkler to get out of something. Classic movie stuff like that. However, I love the conversation. I'm going to send it to him, and see what he says. Your waters break in a huge flood. You go to the hospital and a few hours later your baby is there, and doesn't look all squished up. Yeah right. Architect, a suave, artistic, philosophical being living in a top-notch home, who is constantly struggling to keep up with the workload and family commitments. The latter is true, however. Just once, instead of the hacker banging away at the keyboard to gain access to a secure system, they just show how it really happens. Some dumbass employee clicks on a spear phishing email. Is that too much to ask? I'd find the plot a lot more believable and interesting if they'd show the reality of how dumb most employees are. They'll click anything at work. Trust me, I spent almost 20 years fixing these disasters instead of how badass hackers are portrayed. Yes, I'm an avid watcher of Mr. Robot, and it does do most things right. However, I'm talking about the 99.99% of all movies and other TV shows that portray it by some geek sitting in front of a computer banging away at the keyboard, as if having a seizure, completing a hack into the NSA or such within seconds and suddenly having access to every byte of incriminating or important information instantly. Think of it like you're someone who has been in real fights watching movie fights that last 9 minutes and each combatant is throwing wild, powerful haymakers and landing every single one of them on each other's jaws. I've been working at a restaurant for the last 5 years. First as a waiter, and now as Grams. Not every chef is a rockstar looking for fame and fortune with their only concern being to exert their creative will. And not every cook slash waiter slash waitress slash dishwasher is a burnout who is miserable day in and day out. I have never seen anyone spit in food or tamper with food. I have seen people joke about it though. Most people I work with are just decent humans looking to earn some money and feed people. My favorite type of restaurant worker who I haven't seen much of in film is the journeyman. Someone who has been working in the industry since they were a kid washing dishes or doing prep. Who's been in every kind of kitchen fancy, dive, OCD clean, pick food up off the floor and throw it on a plate dirty. Usually these guys know their crap and settle into a place that respects their experience and gives them space to do their thing. PhD here. No one gets 2 doctorates by age 26. Just 1. And 30 would be on the early side. Isn't it enough to be a world-class, or even regionally acceptable, researcher or teacher in just one field? Engineers. There's never enough alcohol. Almost everything involving the military. I have no interest in sleeping with your husband, as popular movie stereotypes may have you believe. I don't work for the rich and famous, and the majority of people in my line of work are woefully underpaid. I do, however, have a magic purse that basically contains everything I could ever need. Job equals nanny. Retail is not portrayed as bad as it really is, nor do they touch on the suicidal tendencies one experiences 100% of the time whilst on the job. Public relations. Working with celebrities is rare. Most of us work for regular companies outside of the entertainment industry. No, we don't have sex with everything that moves. We just do our job and go home, shower, cry, and come back without any sleep like everyone else. People don't always die when they get stuck in a printing press. Yes, it happens, but movies portray it as happening all the time. It's more likely you lose the skin on your arm, requiring skin grafts, broken bones, years of physical therapy, but not always death. Actors playing paramedics should at least know how to properly load an ambulance cot into an ambulance. When I go into the bank, I don't shoot the roof and tell everybody to get down. It's a lot more subtle. Tomb raiding. Less sexy chicks and evil organizations. More secrecy during operations and more self-interest. Less action too. Not much less action, but less action. In most movies a woman's water breaks and she immediately goes straight into labor, goes straight to the hospital, and in the space of about 5 minutes she has given birth to a child that is roughly 6 months old. Granted, it is a necessity for labor scenes to be made shorter. I'm also sure it is incredibly difficult to get a hold of an actual newborn baby for a film too. First-time mothers are generally in early labor for a good 24 hours. The average active labor phase for a first pregnancy is about 12 hours and the amniotic sac is actually meant to break when you are 10 centimeters dilated. Obviously this is a very individual thing and labor turns out differently for everyone, but I do enjoy laughing at the different depictions. Movies almost never show the hours of grading that teachers have to deal with. To be fair, I don't know any movies about people sticking sex lube samples in envelopes. Car mechanics usually don't lie on a little board beneath the car. They lift the car over their head using hydraulic elevators. Dog walker. Movies. Walking up to 10 dogs down the street. Reality. Walking either 1 or 2 dogs at a time, depending how many live in the house. So dogs that don't get along with other dogs don't start fights. Plus, it's safer to not walk that many dogs at once. Also, a lot of my clients don't live close together, so I have to drive from house to house. Port and warehouse workers won't fist fight Batman. Dude, they don't care what's in the shipping containers, they just need them moved. The movie Fundamentals of Caring did a phenomenal job with my profession. Sorry for going the opposite way. Military. You just kind of clean stuff and get fricked with. Then you show up an hour early for your showtime, an hour early for the thing that starts in 4 hours. That got delayed last minute for 2 more hours. Fighting not as cool as in movies either. Psychotherapists don't, or shouldn't, say how does that make you feel. Mainly because it suggests that someone or something is making you feel a certain way and you have no control over how you feel. When therapy should be helping the client realize their responses are something they themselves control and are responsible for. Indiana Jones was not a good archaeologist. He was, however, an excellent tomb raider. Chemist here. So many shows / movies call a piece of lab equipment something completely unrelated to what it actually is. The funny thing is that neither the equipment's actual purpose nor what they claim it to be would actually be of any use to them. It takes 2 minutes to Google something or talk to an expert. Frustrating. IT. I don't know everything. I can't hack. If I don't know the answer from experience, I use Google. But I do wear cargo shorts every day, so they got that right. I'm a bomb tech. We will blow up 20 robots before we send the most junior guy down to cut the red wire. Architect. In the movies they are rich young men of leisure with beautiful homes and nice cars. Most young architects cannot afford any of that. Only the principal of the firm can afford that plus, not better. No, not me. Not better at all. I work unarmed security, other than Paul Blart. Most movies don't really exaggerate it too much. But if I had to pick something, it might be that we really don't care much about our jobs on the whole, and aren't encouraged to. People in the industry call this security theater. I'm there to make you think twice about doing something. But my official orders are to do nothing except observe you if there is an incident. This is not the case for bars and nightclubs, where I have to and will drag you out if necessary. To tour everything. I understand that there are some gross scummy poorly ran shops out there, but I hate that that's how we are mostly portrayed. Plus, you can't just walk in and ask for a huge tattoo and it be drawn up and ready like right away. I've seen so many scenes where people on a whim without appointment or consultation just show up, and the artist wasn't at all busy and works well and at hyper speed. But yuck. Either that, or we are portrayed as just mean, nasty, unclean people that act like we are all 1A badasses. One more. We are legitimate businesses, and not drug dealers or thugs or money launderers. Graphic designers won't use touch screens. Given a choice, I'm looking at you. Black Mirror. When telling someone you actually keep quite a long distance, you don't follow directly behind your subject. Movies always act like police officers never have to do paperwork and aren't reprehensible for the damage they cause. A surgical room is by no means sterile. Sure, the air exchanges 40 in an hour in the aura high, but the room is still not sterile. It is surgically clean, but there are still bacterium present in the room, just in a lower amount than out in the real world. A person or persons comes into the room, scrub tech and nurse, and they open all of the surgical supplies that are needed for the case. The scrub tech leaves the room and begins a hand scrub. Just a hand washing that is very particular and 10 minutes long. After the scrub, the tech comes in and put on a sterile gown and gloves. Once this is done, they can touch anything that is sterile without the fear of contaminating anything. They then open and set up the sterile supplies. The patient is wheeled into the room and put to sleep. The surgical site is then cleaned and it then becomes surgically clean. The doctor then comes in and the tech assists the doctor in putting his gown and gloves on. Autistic people don't actually act like the Sheldon type. ASD works by having some regions of the brain overdevelop and some underdevelop. I've met many autistic retards. Many autistic people who care more about sports and don't give two craps about school subjects. And many with low egos or lots of empathy. At this point, we are one DSM edition away from everyone being on the autism spectrum. When I worked at the jail, people would be assholes and they wouldn't be given a phone call. They would argue about how we legally have to do it, and we would have to explain to them that we actually don't. Probably one of the last things you will do in a library as a librarian is read books. Most farmers are portrayed in movies either as lazy and stupid, typical racist country hick, or in romance movies extremely ripped. Although farming is a very physical job, muscled aren't as defined as they are in movies. I have met a couple stupid and racist farmers, but it's not nice to be painted by the same brush. Unemployment. Sure, some days are like summer vacation, but hanging out in your underwear with nothing to do, and no extra money to do it is unbearably boring. Then after a full day of nothing, you go to bed staring out the window realizing another day of your life has passed with nothing to show for it. Rinse and repeat. I work at a grocery store as a teenager. None of us are these really lazy awkward 16-year-old boys. Physical therapist. We exist. Nurses don't perform physical therapy. Physical therapy is a doctorate degree. Software/electronic engineering. There is no high drama. Just a bunch of people quietly sitting at their desks, looking at screens and typing. Medical laboratory scientist. No, the doctors or nurses don't run the diagnostic tests or select blood products for transfusion. We do. Microphone feedback whenever someone walks up to a microphone to speak. I'm a pet teacher, and the more apt question is, what do they get right? Nothing. Nothing is right about a movie Pet Teacher. I'm in sales. We aren't all about ripping you off, but we are making fun of you like crazy as soon as you leave. Doctors don't talk with patients more than 10 minutes half the time, and their medical emergencies aren't ever as graceful as TV makes it out to be. CPR doesn't work 100% of the time. Librarian. I don't shush people and I don't read all day. Also, you need a master's degree to be a librarian. Courier. There are no naked women. Software. I don't actually assemble it into third shapes. Actuary here. We don't fight ourselves in underground Kaja fight dodgers at night or blow up the CBD. I was watching Forgetting Sarah Marshall a few days ago. I was a hotel desk agent, sales coordinator, sales manager, reservations manager, and now travel consultant. I have worked in some mega resorts, You can't just give away the Capella suite for free because someone is heartbroken. It doesn't work like that. If the hotel is sold out, except for the Capella suite, why the hell aren't you upgrading the guy who paid a lot of money to stay however many nights? That's Turtle Bay Resort, man. You've got people who booked ahead of time who are paying between $500 $1,000 per night. And here you have someone who just walked in without a reservation and you give him the Capella suite for free. Dog, do you not have a revenue manager where you work? Upgrade some douchebag who already has a reservation in a standard room. Yay, congrats, you've got an upgrade to the Capella suite. And then sell that last base level room to Jason Segel at the lower price to get him away from the front desk. And you also aren't supposed to fraternize with the guests and have sex with them over in their rooms. That's the sort of thing that would get you fired. A resort like Turtle Bay likely has cameras and security, and if employees were using the place like their own personal playground, staff would take notice. Astrophysicist hear everything. Nothing. Car salesmen are sketchy as frick. We are not all badass operators who can clear a whole building by ourselves. Most of us are barely functional enough to walk somewhere unsupervised, apparently. Army hurts me because it loves me. Cleaners don't operate heavy machinery while listening to music on headphones. It's a health and safety issue. TV shows about custom cars. Looks like they take 10 minutes to remove an engine or body panel. That crap can take hours. We aren't always banging the hosts in the walk-in, unfortunately. Helicopters do not blow up as often as portrayed. Shocking, I know. I work with autistic students and let me tell you, some of them are very affectionate and love a good hug. Many are also very outspoken and just love interactions with others, like playing Connect 4 or watching movies. I wouldn't say they get autism wrong entirely or anything like that, only that they tend to only show one or two sides of it and play it off as the only way people on the spectrum act. Pizza delivery. Depending on the area, of course. There's not as many teenage stoners as you'd think. I'm 20 and I'm the second youngest driver, with the oldest being in their late 40s mid-50s. Like half the store smokes, and only 2 of the drivers smoke at work. Legally stupid to do, but that's on them. Fire inspector. Only 1 sprinkler head goes off where the fire popped the head. Watch any Die Hard movie, lol. Dental assistant. My dentist doesn't want to sleep with me. Landscaper. Hot housewives don't want to frick us. They show the vehicles as discs. Also, Mars, bish please. And finally, why do they show the bodies without reproductive organs? The biggest peens in the universe and on Earth. Programs only run on green backgrounds.